All right, good morning. This is John with Cue the Sound. Just wanted to touch base with everybody here. This is my little YouTube channel that has no subscribers yet, and maybe that'll change. If you find that I've given you valuable information, feel free to subscribe. That'd be awesome. Give me a thumbs up and set those notifications to on if you want to see anything that I produce in the future. Appreciate you stopping by. Sunday Keys for Ableton is a project and set for Ableton Live that it's pretty cool. I'm digging it. I really enjoy using the sounds in it, and I think David did a great job of putting together the all of the instruments and the automation and everything inside of it. What I wanted to talk about today was how to organize the files. It's suggested to unzip your folder, your Sunday Keys folder, and point Ableton Live to that folder. Here's what I would suggest, and this may require a little bit of in-depth understanding of how Ableton Live stores files and manages sets and projects. So what we're looking at right here is the basic Ableton Live template that comes with the fresh install, and that's basically what this is. You'll notice this is an untitled set, which means there is no project and there's no set file yet. If I start recording and start creating before I save something, it's going to create temporary files, and you might end up with a trail of garbage in your cache. You can avoid that by simply naming the project before you begin. So that also involves coming into this with intentionality. If you just want to tinker and play, that's one thing, but if we're actually going to try to accomplish a goal and create a project, create a song, then do it intentionally and give it a name up front. You can always change it later. But I'll show you right now. If I were to come up here and say File Save As, Save Live Set As, you'll notice there's no Save As a Project. That's because all you need to do is save a set into its own folder and it becomes a project. Project files are created, all the resources are created for it. And so what I'll do is under my music folder, and this has been created by dragging the music folder to the sidebar if you don't have this here. Under Ableton, which is created when I installed Ableton, along with these three folders, I will create a new folder, and I'll call it Projects. Now, this is where I put all of my projects. The user library, if you were to imagine a home with a large library, the user library would be the shelves of the books surrounding the table in the middle. The table in the middle would be where you do your projects. Now, where you store your projects would be a different place because you're not going to pile all your projects onto one table. So let's say you were going to create a new song and you wanted all of the resources to be available every time you created a new project. Whether you're creating a project with one song in it or creating a project with a song and a remix for that song, your project is going to be created from these resources that are in the user library. You can also create a project with resources that are unique to that project that are not available to other projects and that aren't part of the user library. But I like to put everything in the user library that I intend to use or that I might use in the future for anything else. So right now I've got this projects folder, and I'm going to call this my song. And what happens is it's going to create a folder underneath that. Here's music, Ableton Live, projects. Now it created a My Song project. Now this is not an ALS set file. This is a project file because it was the first time we saved the set. If we go into that, we'll see the project info and you'll see mysong.als. Now that looks very familiar. If we were to unzip Sunday Keys for Ableton Live and look inside that folder, you're going to see similar folders. You're going to see Ableton project info and you're going to see Sunday Keys for Ableton.als. All of the other folders have been created by David with the resources that you need in order to move forward with this. And there's an unlimited number of folders that you can create in here. So all of these folders contain everything you need for Sunday Keys, except for the core library files, the core packs. And those come with Ableton, and they're already installed. So you don't need to worry about those. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this song project. Actually, before I do that, I'll show you this. Now that I've saved it, you can see that you have a set name, My Song, and a project name, My Song. Now, if I were to create a version of a song and I wanted to create the second version, I wanted to do a remix, I'm going to, under current project, I'm going to save this, save live set as, and I'm going to save it in my song project, and I'm just going to call it my song, say, let's see, my song remix. Now you can see up here I've got my song remix and my song, and they're both sitting in that project folder. And so now you can see at the top it says my song remix is the set that I'm working on, and my song is the project. So that should give you an understanding of the hierarchy of the files that are files and folder system. So let's go ahead and shut down Ableton, and I'll delete this information. We'll go up. I don't even need this. I can get rid of that. So now I still have my projects folder. And I'm going to go over here to Sunday Keys for Ableton, and I'm going to fire it up. I'm going to just double click on Sunday Keys for Ableton, and Ableton Live is going to open up. Okay, so what I've got here is an annoying prompt. And we see Sunday Keys for Ableton is the set name. Sunday Keys for Ableton 2 is the project name. And that's because it's opened up inside of Sunday Keys for Ableton 2 folder. So we now have a project called Sunday Keys for Ableton 2. But all of this information is being pulled from this folder here. And I don't necessarily want this to be on my desktop. I might want this to be in my projects folder. So the first thing I'm going to do is simply come into Ableton Live, and I'm going to save this set as, I'm going to head over to my projects folder, and I will call this Sunday Keys. I don't need the for Ableton because I know that it's for Ableton, because it's now in my Ableton projects folder. And we'll see what happens here is Ableton creates a new project. Inside that project, a new project info folder and the new set. What we don't have are all the other folders that came with it, which I clearly have. I've unzipped this twice. So I'm going to close this or get rid of it, and let's fire up this folder. Now, I have a choice to make here. I can either put all of the resources, the presets, the reference files, samples, and the lessons, along with a video resource page, I can put that in the project folder for Sunday Keys project. Or I can put the resources that I think that I might use in multiple projects into the user library. To do that, to do the first way, I would simply just drag the folders I want right into the project. Now they're in the project, and I could go ahead and delete. Well, let's see, let's do that too. We don't need this because it's already been created again. And I can basically delete this folder. I don't need the unzipped folder anymore. I'll retain the zip file just in case I need to unzip it again. But let me arrange by name. So now I've got my entire setup for Sunday Keys, and it's in my project folder. And you'll notice that I have Sunday Keys and Sunday Keys. This is the set, this is the project. The first thing I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to save the live set as again, and I'm going to call this Sunday Keys original template. And I'm going to save it in the Sunday Keys project. So now I have two sets, and this would be like a song and a remix, or like we've done, an original template, and then my modified template, which I could rename here if I wanted to, in the same project folder, drawing on the same resources. So let's say I wanted to make these presets, which were part of the downloaded file, available to every project that I do, everything that I do. I can come over to the user library. I'll just show that in the Finder here so I can manipulate the files. Let's do this. So user library, I've got music, Ableton, user library, and there's already default information there. Project info, clips, defaults, grooves, presets, and samples. I could, if I wanted to, create a folder here and call it Sunday Keys, if I wanted to identify what they were, or I could simply bring the presets and drop them into the presets folder. Now I might forget that the presets in here are for Sunday Keys. And so it's up to you on how you want to organize it. So now I can take that file out, the reference files. I don't necessarily need the reference file folder. So let's just set that aside. Samples, don't need samples because it'll be automatically generated, and there's already a samples folder here. Sunday Key for Ableton Lessons, sure, I could put that in the user library. So now I can access it there, and Ableton project info we can delete. samples because it will probably be recreated. And I could also put the video resources page URL in the user library. Okay, so now inside of Ableton Live, let me close this. What I have here is a current project is Sunday Keys, and the template or the set that's open is Sunday Keys original template. If I click on current project, it's going to show me the highlighted project, Sunday Keys. Underneath that, I'm going to have all of my, these are all of my tracks. They match the top. They match right here. You'll notice there are no other folders in here. Normally you would see the other folders in here if you simply pointed your Ableton Live browser to the unzipped folder. But if you go to user library, we're going to see the Sunday Keys for Ableton Lessons, because we dropped it in there. Under samples, nothing, because we haven't recorded anything. Presets, here's where we're going to see, now there's the entire racks. Now if you wanted to, at this point, you could rename this SK entire racks. And so now you know what it is, and perhaps you wanted to rename this SK pianos and pads. Yeah, we could rename that. I could just hit Command R. SK pads. Right, and what do we have here? MIDI effects, instruments, auxiliary. Here's more. So let's rename that SK aux. And what do we have here? Audio presets. Okay, so we basically have made our user library. We've moved all of the Sunday Keys resources into the user library, and they will be available anytime we create any new set. So if I were to come up here and say, let's say new live set, yep, untitled. Now I'm starting something new. I can do File, Save As, Save Live Set As, and it's not going into the Sunday Keys project because maybe this is another project. So I'm going to flip back to my projects folder, and I'm going to call this Christmas song, right? Because it's Christmas time in June. Well, we're almost in July. Anyway, so now I've got a new project called Christmas Song with Christmas Song as the set. But where are my Sunday Keys resources? So you'll recall that in the presets folder, we have the SK entire racks as it was brought over from that unzipped file. Each one of these represents a track, and this is a device grouping, so it contains multiple devices. So if we wanted the first column, and that would be, I believe that's your orange column, the SK pianos, if you wanted to bring that into your current project, all you would do is simply drag this into your project and it will create a new track. And it will have all of the instruments and settings for that track. What it won't have is it won't have any clips that change the chain selector for the instruments. It just comes in as a track with the resources available to you. This can be problematic if you don't know how to deal with chain selectors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into File Open Live Set. I'm going to open the original project, Sunday Keys project, and let's do Sunday Keys template. Okay, so here is the original template. And if I want to be able to pull this entire track into another project from my user library, and I want all of these clips to exist already so that I don't have to recreate them, what I need to do is I actually need to create new set files for each one of these tracks. And that's pretty simple to do. Simply click on your user library, and SK entire racks, we can add to this because it's just another kind of entire rack. So let's grab this, the title bar on the track, grab that, and drag this into the entire racks. And you'll see it will create an ALS file, which is a set, and it calls it pianos 1. It copies the media over, and you'll notice under that, it's going to show you pianos 1 is this is the track itself. This is the set, because basically what's happened is it's created its own set. And under pianos 1 are all of the clips. These are every clip you see here is referenced right here. Okay, so at this point, if we were to go back to any other project, which I'll do simply by going to File Open, I'll open a recent set Christmas song, and under User Library, I now have this Pianos 1. Now it's different than this Pianos 1. This Pianos 1 just brings in the grouping of the devices. This Pianos 1 will actually bring in everything from Pianos 1. So if I were to drag this over here and drop it in, it's going to bring in the device grouping, and it's going to bring in all of the clips along with it. It's not going to match the color that you want until you hit the record button or the arm button. And that is as you would expect it to be. It's set exactly as it was in the last project, and you can use this across multiple projects just by bringing it in, like I've shown you here. That is as simple as it gets. Any resource in Ableton can be dragged into the file folders and saved for use in other things. For instance, Worship Piano. You could drag Worship Piano into SK Entire Racks, and it's going to create a clip. And you'll get used to these icons. This is a clip. This is a grouping, device grouping, and this is a set. And so if I wanted to save some of these clips, I could put them anywhere I want them to, basically. And they could be accessible resources from any project that I'm working on at any time. I don't need this here. I'll move that to trash. And I don't need this column, and I don't even need this project. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I'll be happy to answer them. And hope you have a good time with this. Thanks.